it seems like big council a lot of the time take the easier option or the financial option with a complete disrespect for the health of those that they're claiming to protect.
And so let's pick up on that. So, DDT was created, was first used in World War II to prevent malaria. Okay. You're like, I'm going to prevent thousands, if not millions of people getting malaria. Okay, I'm going to take a little risk on DDT. But am I going to do this for my kids' soccer fields so they don't have weeds? And this is not a theoretical risk. There have been 3 studies in England, Scotland, and Spain, and Italy that have shown that soccer players are at increased risk for ALS, motor neuron disease, Lou Gehrig's disease, in the United States. 3 different studies, 3 different parts of the world showing that soccer players are at increased risk for developing ALS. And I'm like, well, why is that? And I thought about, head trauma obviously is one, but the other thing is they're exposed to pesticides. And so they're playing on soccer fields, pitches, football fields. I forgot what you would say in Australia.
Soccer, yeah.
Soccer. And they're playing on it all the time. They're coming into skin contact. They're breathing it. They play with their cleats. They bring their cleats home. On their cleats are pesticides. The pesticides get into their indoor air, and people are breathing it in. And it's not just ALS. Cancers have been associated with certain pesticides and other things. So we're doing all of this on golf courses, on utility poles, on our yards, all in the name of not having dandelions. I think we're paying a really, 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 really high price for that. I told you about these chemicals, which are used, perchloroethylene is still used in Australia, is my understanding, for dry cleaning. Also, our clothes don't shrink. We're exposing ourselves to a chemical that likely causes cancer and is associated with an increased 500% increased risk of Parkinson's for dry cleaning. If we just apply some sanity checks to this, we can live longer, healthier lives. You mentioned the point. I'm ready to come out for a visit. But if you've seen the Netflix series Blue Zones, they go to all these different areas of the world that all have super long longevity. People in their 90s, 80s, 90s, and 100s. And watching the whole series, I only saw one person with Parkinson's disease. That's why I end up spending a lot of time. And none with Alzheimer's, right? No Alzheimer's in any of those videos. And I saw one person with Parkinson's disease. And the director of it focuses on the environment. He focuses on the social environment. But all these places are pristine. They all had very clean air. They all had clean water, and they all had clean food. If you have clean air, if you have clean water, and you have clean food, you can live long, healthy lives. I think lives are largely free of many of these neurodegenerative conditions like ALS, like Parkinson's disease, and like Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, a really great documentary. I have seen it. I read the book a couple of years ago, and you're right. The thing we keep coming back to is, okay, we've made the decision. We want to make a difference. Obviously, we want the umbrella of people, the decision makers, the farmers, whoever are actually allowing these things to take place, the things that are leading to bad air quality, bad food quality, and straight pants or unshrunken pants, for lack of a better explanation. We want that to be improved. We want it to be changed. But like anything like this, it's going to take years, I imagine, before we see people in control or people in charge actually making those changes. And so in the meantime, we sit here and we say, okay, well, what can I actually do? What is within my control to make a change to my own life to hopefully prevent something like this kicking in? And I've heard you speak, perhaps we could start in regards to diet, nutrition, because I've heard you speak about this a little bit. I made a move to eating organic food, almost solely about 5 or 6 years ago. Lucky for me, there's a great, pretty reasonably priced place here in Melbourne called Terra Madre for any locals, which serves in bulk certified organic food, which I thought, okay, hey, this is a great place to start. Now, I would love to hear you speak to that, like the benefits of organic or lack thereof. Is that a move that we should make? But even with the organic food that we do have access to, obviously, that's not completely free of these pesticides. So once we've made that move, what is it that we can do to even better our chances of an actual organic food?
Yeah, so let's start with food. Since writing the book, we wrote this book, Ending Parkinson's Disease, available on Amazon or a lot of other booksellers and libraries. I buy organic. wash. In the United States, levels of pesticide, organic produce isn't pesticide free. You still find levels of pesticides on organic produce. So I wash all my fruits and vegetables with water and a vegetable wash. Just like you bathe with water and soap. You want to get water to wash away dirt, soap to get rid of oils. Some pesticides dissolve in fat, and your brain's fatty, so you want to get those pesticides off. So we just went and got apples from the grocery store yesterday, and before they get put in the bowl, I washed them put them in a glass bowl with water and a pesticide wash. I think all these things are even more important if you have Parkinson's disease, because by the time you're diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, 60% of those nerve cells that produce dopamine have died off. So you want to protect those remaining 40%. So everything I say here, I would apply even more to people with the disease. Water. I used to think the water we drink is safe, and I don't necessarily think that's the case anymore. If you get your water from a well, I would have it regularly tested for pesticides if I lived in a rural area, and for these chemicals, trichloroethylene and perchloroethylene, if I lived in an urban area. I put a carbon filter, from Pure or Brita or whatever you want to do. I put that on my water at home, and that's the water I use to drink. And then air, it depends on where you live. You might live in a beautiful area with really low levels of air pollution, and so that's fantastic. And so it may not be a major issue. If you live in a major urban area, I would think about air purifiers for like your home. You can put those like in your bedroom, in your kitchen. My parents live in Southern California, where air quality is not necessarily optimal. And so that's what we got them for Christmas last year was air purifiers. If you're driving through heavy traffic, you should roll up your windows and circulate the air within your car, so you don't bring in air, heavily polluted air that you're passing through, like for example through a tunnel. And then I tell people to think about dry cleaning. It turns out that these dry cleaning chemicals are off; they're released from it. So if you put the dry cleaning into your car, when you going home, you are breathing in that chemical. You put it into your closet in your bedroom, you are breathing in that chemical perhaps while you're sleeping. It's so bad that if you live in an apartment building above a dry cleaner in New York City, for example, they have found toxic levels of perchloroethylene, this chemical, this still widely used in dry cleaning in the United States and in Australia. Toxic levels of the chemical in apartment buildings above dry cleaners in New York City. And because it's fat soluble, when you open the refrigerator and you take out the butter and the cheese, you'll be eating perchloroethylene. If you take your daughter to the dry cleaner and she's got an ice cream cone with her, when she leaves the dry cleaner, she's going to be eating perchloroethylene. So I would be really mindful of it. There are dry cleaning alternatives. I end up using a dry cleaner that doesn't use perchloroethylene. I suspect those things are available, so I would think about that too. I think about, do I need to be spraying pesticides in my yard? Do my kids do my kids' schools have pesticides being used? In New York State, they've put limits on the use of pesticides on kids' playgrounds. And what's going on at the golf course? Do I live near a golf course? There are studies that have shown that people who live downwind of golf courses might be at higher risk. So I think there are tons and tons of things that we can do in our individual lives, but ultimately these issues are societal.